Growing up in church in the Christian tradition, I was taught that the devil was God's archenemy, who was at one point a magnificent angel named Lucifer, and he was heaven's worship leader. But then one day, Lucifer got prideful and wanted to be like God, and so God punished Lucifer by casting him out of heaven. And because of this, his name was changed to Satan. And Satan's plan was to get as many people as possible to reject God. I was taught that the serpent mentioned in Genesis, Lucifer mentioned in the book of Isaiah, Satan mentioned in the book of Job, and the devil who tempted Jesus in the wilderness were all referring to the same thing, the same being. And I was taught that the devil was indeed a real being who is responsible for most of the trouble and temptations we face every day. But during my freshman year of college, I started to doubt and question what I had been taught about the devil and the demonic realm. And after taking time to examine and study out these subjects thoroughly, my beliefs changed drastically. And so in this video, I will be sharing what I've learned over the years from my exploration and from my rethinking and from my in-depth studying on this topic, and how my views on Satan and demons today looks nothing like I was taught to believe growing up in church. So first, let's talk about Satan. Satan in Hebrew is ha-satan. And in the Bible, there's always a definite article ha, which is the in English, before Satan. So it's the Satan. And the Satan, ha-satan, means the adversary or the accuser. Throughout the Hebrew Bible, the Satan is used as a role or function that acts as an adversary. It's never this malevolent being who is an enemy of God, as believed in Christianity. The Satan we read about in the story of Job is actually a member of the divine council that is mentioned in the beginning of the story. This member of the divine council takes the role as an adversary, as a Satan towards Job. In the beginning of the story, it says that Satan is roaming throughout the earth, which indicates that the job of this member of the divine council, who the storyteller is calling Satan, was to act like a spy that would report information back to God. Satan is accusing Job of not truly being righteous and loyal to God. And the accusation is that Job is only worshiping God because of what he can get from God. And so God allows the Satan, who again is a member of the divine council, to test Job to see if Job is as righteous as God thinks he is. And then in Numbers 22:22, the angel of the Lord is sent to Balaam as a Satan, as an adversary, to prevent him from going where God did not want him to go. And this is how we see the Satan used in other parts of the Hebrew Bible, in the role or function of an adversary that prevents something from occurring. And in the New Testament, in the Gospel of Mark and Matthew, Jesus calls Peter Satan. Why? Because Peter had stepped into the adversary role and was going against what Jesus was saying. Jesus is not calling Peter Satan in the sense of identifying him as the devil, but is rebuking him for acting as a hindrance or an adversary to God's purpose. So Jesus' use of the word Satan here would have been consistent with how it was often used in the Hebrew Bible. So where does the idea that Satan was once an angelic being named Lucifer who was cast out of heaven come from? Well, it doesn't come from the Jewish tradition, which is why it is never clearly stated or mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. It comes from Christianity, and mainly from an interpretation of two different passages in Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28. Now, the context of Isaiah 14 is about the fall of a Babylonian king, which is clearly understood when the whole chapter is read in context. And this is the only place in the entire Bible where we read about Lucifer, a Latin word in modern English translations influenced by the Latin Vulgate. Lucifer means shining one or morning star, and this is a reference to the planet Venus. In ancient times, Venus was considered to be a star, and it was recognized to be the last star to shine in the morning and the first star to shine in the evening. And as they saw the sun start to shine in the morning, the sun's competitor, Venus, would begin to fall. And from this, there were all kinds of myths that were formulated in the ancient world. So all the prophet is doing here is using poetic language and saying that the king of Babylon would fall just as Venus, the morning star, falls. And again, the entire context of this passage is about the king of Babylon, not a fallen angel named Lucifer who would become Satan. And in Ezekiel 28, we have a similar situation where it's talking about the fall of another earthly king, the king of Tyre. And again, the prophet is using poetic language to talk about the fall of this king. When read in context, it has nothing to do with the fall of Satan from heaven. Now, we don't really read anything in the Bible about a devil personified into a malevolent being or anything about demons or evil spirits until the time of Second Temple Judaism. During Second Temple Judaism, the idea of the devil or Satan being this individual entity who was God's enemy and who had an army of demons became a popular and widespread belief across Judaism. And this is very apparent in the gospel stories. The reason for this was mainly due to the apocalyptic literature in the book of Enoch. Also, it's very likely that some of the religious thought and mythology from the Greco-Roman world played some sort of role in shaping the understanding of the devil and demons as Judaism had started to incorporate these ideas into their theological frameworks. During this time, the concept of a devil as this evil being that was an enemy of God played a crucial role in explaining the existence of evil in the world. And it was later developed in Christian theology, where the devil's opposition to God and temptation of humans became a major theme in the New Testament. Now, in the ancient world, there was no medical science, modern technology, or psychological research like we have today. And so people of the ancient world would use mythological stories with symbolic imagery, personification, and archetypes to make sense of the forces of good and evil in the world and the inclinations of good and evil that humans experience within themselves. And so I think that potentially much of what was understood to be the devil attacking or demonic possession could have been what people of the ancient world were calling the manifestation of internal struggles and psychological phenomena. In modern times, we know that when certain energies and desires and feelings and emotions are repressed within a person, they become buried in the unconscious mind. And because they are denied and pushed down, they can eventually become violent and cause harm to the person and to others. The part of us that gets suppressed, repressed, and neglected in the unconscious mind is what Carl Jung called the shadow. And this is how I've come to view and understand what has been called the devil and demons. If we don't deal with the repressed forces within us and do the shadow work, these forces will grow stronger and become louder because they demand to be noticed, and they will eventually overtake us. Jesus said in the Gospel of Thomas that if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. But if you don't bring forth what is within you, what you don't bring forth will destroy you. The first step to overcome and bring healing to our inner demons, to the repressed energies in the unconscious mind, is simply to become conscious of them, to become aware of them. We bring light into the darkness. We love our enemies, the ones hidden within us. And the loving awareness, the light of our consciousness, removes the devil, the Satan, the adversary, the obstacle, the blockage that is repressing these energies and preventing them from flowing through us naturally. Oftentimes, if we don't do the shadow work and become aware of these repressed forces within us, we project them onto other people and onto other groups that we disagree with or dislike. And when we scapegoat our demons in attempts to get rid of them, all this does is repress them even more. And doing this only adds fuel for them to negatively manifest in our lives. Richard Rohr said, "If we do not transform our pain, we will most assuredly transmit it." If you found this video helpful, insightful, and informative, leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.